Hello, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. I'm Julie Flygar, and I'm President and CEO of Project Sleep here in Los Angeles, California, starting my morning with some coffee, and really excited to have Adriana here. Where are you joining us from?
Hello. I'm joining you from Sofia, Bulgaria, on the other part of the world with another cup of coffee. It's 8 o'clock in the evening in our part of the world.
Awesome. Well, we're just so excited to have you share your story tonight. We're doing this, folks, in preparation for something coming up on Thursday, which is World Narcolepsy Day. Yay! We're just so excited to be doing the 4th annual World Narcolepsy Day. And in particular, excited for today's broadcast. Not only is Adriana a wonderful advocate and mother of a person with narcolepsy, but also founder of the Bulgarian organization for narcolepsy. And so one of the organizations that joined us this year as one of the co-leading organizations for World Narcolepsy Day. So we now have 31 organizations around the world that co-lead this day. So we're really excited for World Narcolepsy Day. And just want to remind everyone before Adi starts sharing her story today that, of course, please, as you tune in today, share where you're joining us from on Facebook. Put in the comments where you're located. It's really fun to see where people are watching from. And please, as Adriana says things that might resonate with you, please, let us know in the comments. Just remember that the comments are public and stay with the video. So you only want to share things there that you would want to share publicly. And just a little final reminder that we do these for education and awareness purposes, but of course, we ourselves are not doctors. So if anything about Adriana's story today brings up questions for you about your own medical experience, please bring those questions to your sleep specialist. And I think with that, we'll go ahead and get ready to hear Adi's story. So I'll go ahead and introduce you if you want to pull up your slides.
Yes, of course, I'm going to share them.
Okay. Let's see. Adriana Andreeva lives and works in Sofia, Bulgaria. Her daughter was diagnosed with narcolepsy type 1 at age 10, and their family's experience drove Adriana to create the Bulgarian Association of Narcolepsy Patients. As a narcolepsy advocate and Rising Voices speaker, she is on a mission to raise awareness in her country, to reduce delays to diagnosis, and strengthen support for people with narcolepsy and their families. We put a link to the Bulgarian Association in the Facebook description, so please check it out. And without further ado, please take it away, Adriana.
Julie, thank you so much for introducing me. And thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this event. It's a huge honor for me to share our story from this part of the world. This is Buriana. This is my daughter. The reason for having the association on the first place. Here she's 10 at this picture when the picture was taken in our apartment, actually in this very same spot that I'm sharing our story today. This was 2 years ago in the summer of 2020. So you can tell by her attire that she loves to dress and make up stories and make up her own world. And she's very crafty and she's very inventive, and she loves to read books and she loves to tell stories. She's very sociable and gets easily with friends, no matter if they're children or adults. And she's quite active and inquisitive and joyful. And you can only imagine when in the summer of 2020, she started changing as a behavior, and she started changing also as physique and as a person. And at first we we didn't got scared or took up much notice, but she was just sleeping a lot, usually in the car while traveling or going to school or taking short trips around the country. And we thought that it's just a phase of growing up, and we just let it be. And then this very same summer, it was in the middle of our vacation, our family vacation in Greece with other friends. She shared a story of an incident that she has experienced. She was playing and laughing, and she felt her knees go weak. And she came and told us that she was kind of, scared of this incident, but we didn't. We were not very concerned about it because we thought it's a one-timer and it's gonna be okay and it will just pass away. And then this very same summer, we got back home, and she continued her need of frequent naps and going to rest in the afternoon. And one such afternoon, she went to bed, and afterwards she shared with her father that as she was falling asleep, she saw a creature coming into her room, and she was so scared, and she couldn't move, and she couldn't scream and call for her father for help. And the creature was moving towards her bed, and she was absolutely paralyzed. Again, with my husband, we were more or less pretty okay with this story because we thought it's a one-timer. Once again, it has never happened before. Maybe it's something related to her sleep. And anyway, we continued our life. But in the course of the next few weeks, everything kind of changed pretty rapidly. This need of sleep, even when we were walking on the street, persisted, and she would want us to just stop and rest for 10 or 15 minutes for her to get some nap or to just get some sleep. And then she suddenly started even falling on the ground, like collapsing in my arms when we were on the street. That's how tired or unable to control her muscles she was. And at this point, we started worrying very much. We thought this is not some, peculiar state of her growing up. It's something more. It's something more troublesome. At first, as a mother, I have to admit that I thought that she's kind of reaching out for me and begging for more attention. Because while she was reading around me, her head would bob around, or her jaw would slack down, or her tongue would start protruding. And I thought, is this some kind of, another type of her way of, performing or inventing stories? But then, after these few weeks, in the summer of 2020, at the end of it, I knew that something serious is going on. So what we did at first, we Googled her symptoms, and she checked all the boxes for something that was called narcolepsy with cataplexy. This was a term that we have never heard of it before. It was completely unknown to us. But when we were reading for narcolepsy with cataplexy in Wikipedia, our daughter was checking all the boxes. So we thought maybe this is the direction that we should focus on. The first step, of course, here in Bulgaria is to go visit your GP. So we went to the GP, and even though she's a woman with many years of experience, she said that she has never heard of this term. She's unaware of such a condition. medical condition. So she sent us to a neurologist, and she advised us to have an appointment at the best state clinic for pediatric neurology in the country, which is in Sofia. So we booked an appointment, which was almost a month afterwards. But while we were waiting, our daughter's condition was rapidly deteriorating. The thing that I mentioned with the slacking of the jaw, the protruding of the tongue, her need of rest and sleep, her easily irritable state was more and more often during the days. We would be more and more often walking down the street, and she would be more and more often falling in our arms or just falling on the street. So we were very concerned and started booking multiple doctors, multiple appointments, just for our own, maybe, I don't know how to put it, but as parents, we just couldn't stand from aside and watch her deteriorate. So we went to see another neurologist. We went to see even a nephrologist, a cardiologist, and all types of doctors. And during this period, we went to see sleep doctor in a private clinic, and this was breaking for our story, because the sleep doctor, he was quite young, but he recognized the symptoms, and he told us that he knows about narcolepsy. He performed all the necessary tests, sleep tests for her, but he was pretty honest with us, and he said, look, I know that this is narcolepsy, but I don't have any experience with it. So we went to this very famous Bulgarian neurologist in this state clinic that we were waiting for this appointment for a month. And they performed several tests on Buriana. You can see here on the pictures, but they were looking for epilepsy. The professor just dismissed that this could be narcolepsy, and they were looking for epilepsy. And at the end of these 3 days in the hospital, she was, we were let out with the diagnosis unknown falling states or something like this, that was completely inconclusive and did not give us any answers for how to proceed with her treatment. So this was super frustrating for us as parents, because we were looking not only for answers and for a diagnosis, but also for a way out of this situation, for helping our child lead a more healthy and normal life, because we were seeing in front of us, she was changing so rapidly that we were unable to help her. So what we did was to contact a prominent neurology professor with a vast experience with children with narcolepsy in Bologna, Italy. And when we contacted him, we sent him some videos that we made of Buriana and her condition, and also all the tests that we have made up to this moment. And he contacted us back, and we had several Skype meetings, and he invited us to visit his clinic in Italy. And we were able to go there probably 6 months after her first signs of narcolepsy showed. So this was very important for us, and like a stepping stone in her treatment, because somehow we thought that we are on the right path. After being there for a week in Bologna, this was at the beginning of February 2021, she underwent all the necessary tests for diagnosing narcolepsy, and we actually got acquainted closely with the illness. So narcolepsy is a chronic neurological disorder of the sleep-wake cycle, and it affects about 1 in 2,000 people around the world. And in Bulgaria, this would replicate to around 3,500 people. Symptoms vary by person and may include various symptoms like excessive daytime sleepiness, periods of extreme sleepiness during the day that feel comparable to how someone without narcolepsy would feel after staying awake for 48 to 72 hours. And this is part of what I mentioned at the beginning, how irritable Buriana became at the beginning and how she changed in her behavior. So when I told you that at first she started sleeping a lot and how we did not, take heed of these signs, sometimes I go back to this summer and I'm thinking, could we have been more cautious in this situation? But you can never tell. She was just, sleeping in the car and having naps in the afternoon. Another very striking symptom of narcolepsy is the cataplexy, which is striking and sudden episodes of muscle weakness, usually triggered by strong emotions, such as laughter or surprise or anger. The severity may vary from a slackening of the jaw or buckling of the knees to falling down. And the duration may be for a few seconds to several minutes, and the person remains fully conscious, even unable to speak during these episodes. So I'm going back to this episode during our summer vacation in Greece, and her sharing of this incident with her friends while she was playing and laughing, and her knees got weak, and how we just dismissed it as something that she's just experiencing for one time. So this is something that we would never forget, because we were not worried with her father. And another very important symptom of narcolepsy is the hypnagogic and hypnopompic hallucination. These are the visual and auditory or tactile hallucinations upon falling asleep or waking up. And they can be frightening and confusing and even lead to sleep paralysis, which is the inability to move for a few seconds or minutes upon falling asleep or waking up. And it is often accompanied by hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations. And it's important to know that people without narcolepsy can experience these hallucinations and sleep paralysis, actually. And about 1/3 of all people experience this at some point in their lives, usually during periods of high stress or poor sleep. But for people with narcolepsy, these are much more frequent and consistent over time. And they're quite vivid and they're quite frightening. And this one afternoon in the summer of 2020, when she shared such an incident with us, and we were not much worried about it. Actually, these incidents persisted with time, and even after her medication, and up even today, when she falls asleep, sometimes they're quite strong, and her visions are usually with spiders and some spiders attacking her. Also, another symptom of narcolepsy are these disrupted nighttime sleep, and unlike public perceptions, people with narcolepsy do not sleep all the time, and they need to sleep a lot, but this is not healthy and deep sleep, a sleep that wakes them up rested. So timing of sleepiness is off with narcolepsy. So one may fight sleepiness during the day, but struggle to sleep at night. And this erratic sleep leads to a lot of tiredness when they're awake. And this is something that we notice pretty early with her. And I can tell that even on the second month of her symptoms being showed up, she just was so tired and was willing to sleep all the time, and then was as if not, rested during the day. There are two forms of narcolepsy with cataplexy and narcolepsy without cataplexy. And recent research suggests that narcolepsy with cataplexy is caused by a lack of hypocretin, a key neurotransmitter that helps sustain alertness and regulate the sleep-wake cycle. And less is known about the other type of narcolepsy, the one without cataplexy. Our daughter is diagnosed with narcolepsy with cataplexy. So what does the diagnosis include? Usually it's a 24-hour sleep study. In her case, in Bologna, she underwent almost a 3-day of being wired like this with all this machinery all over her. And she was quite brave and relentless in her willingness to be diagnosed as it should be done. And the diagnosis includes a nighttime test, which is a polysomnogram, and a daytime test, which is a multiple sleep latency test. During our stay at the Bulgaria hospital in Bologna, the doctors also performed a lumbar puncture on Buriana in order to measure her hypocretin levels, the thing that I mentioned in our previous slide. And it turned out that hers is almost depleted. You can imagine that the lowest number is 200 and hers was 19. So it was almost gone. The treatment is the following. There is, on the first place, narcolepsy. For the moment, there is currently no cure for narcolepsy. And the treatment for symptom management varies widely by person. And it may include wake promoters like histamine-directed medicine or stimulants for daytime sleepiness. At first, I have to share that in Bulgaria, while we were waiting to go to Italy, Buriana was given a wake promoting drug, and she did not feel well at all with it. And her need for sleep did not diminish at all. On the contrary, she would take this drug, and in the following half hour, she would fall asleep, or as if she was not taking it. And with time, it only enervated her. So it was doing more wrong than right. So we decided to stop it. Then there is another very common treatment for narcolepsy, which is the nighttime medication for daytime sleepiness and cataplexy. And during our stay in Bologna, Buriana was treated with this nighttime medication for the first time, and it proved very effective on her from the first dosage. It was like a miracle. I clearly remember this night, and I clearly remember the morning after it, and I would never forget it, because for the first time when she woke up, I saw Buriana as the child that I knew before the first symptoms. She for the first time, she had just withdrew her tongue, and she started talking normally to me. And she said, "Mama, I think that I'm seeing better now for the first time in the last 5 months." So it was very emotional for both of us. And she has been on this nighttime medication since February 2021 until this moment. There are also antidepressants for cataplexy. We are not aware of these. I mean, we have never tried on Boriana such. And there is also the shadowed daytime nap, which is very important for Boriana. We have been trying to schedule these daytime naps from the beginning that we knew that she's having narcolepsy. But it is kind of hard because she goes to school, then there is vacation time, and the school is one semester is in the morning, then another semester is in the evening. But overall, this is very helpful for her to know when she can sleep during the day. There are also other coping strategies which vary widely by person, because each narcolepsy case is very different from person to person. This is something that we have learned in the last 2.5 years. But social support such as meetup groups or social media and sharing is also very important, and proving very caring to patients. And improvements in general health through sleep hygiene, diet, and fitness also are some of the success stories that we have heard throughout this time or we have read. So how life has been with narcolepsy, I have mentioned some of the aspects about living with narcolepsy in our family. You can see this is Boriana on the first picture with her sister. Her sister is 2.5 years younger than her. And this is this exact summer that she started showing the first symptoms in 2020. They're pretty close. They have never been separated, and they're kind of best friends in play, and always together. So I think that the hardest part of living with narcolepsy and this abrupt change in our family was the difficulty of accepting that Boriana has changed and she would never go back to the previous state that she was before narcolepsy. And I think that for her sister, it was even harder because, as I mentioned, they would play always together. They would be always sharing their stories and their imaginary plays. And this adjustment was super abrupt and very quick for all of us because Boriana would be very irritable and quite angry with what was happening to her. I mean, she was just 10 and she had to cope with all of this. But on the other hand, we were very determined that we would not let this illness or this situation ruin our lives, and we would embrace the challenges and try to cope with them in the best way that we could offer to her and to our family overall. Another very kind of long path that we had to go through was the bureaucratic system in Bulgaria. It's not only in Bulgaria, I guess it's all over the world, but this nighttime drug that we had to give to her and this treatment that was proving very helpful to her was absolutely unknown in Bulgaria. Not absolutely, but it was uncommon, and there was not another person on this medication at this point in Bulgaria. So last year we had to fight through a lot of bureaucratic challenges in order to secure her medicine in Bulgaria, and also try and help other patients with narcolepsy have it. For the moment, we are helping only children because we don't know how the system goes for people above 18 years of age. And the other part is that I had to reprogram all of my priorities and focus them on Boriana and help her live like a more normal and like a good life with narcolepsy, at school, with friends, at our home, with family. And it became a very demanding job because I have another job, like a day job. I have another child, and this was this reprogramming was quite of a challenge for all of us as well. But I also learned that there are a lot of benevolent and good-willing people ready to help you, either with advice or any type of legal or any type of other assistance in order to see you thrive. So this was a very important period for growth in our life as well. You can see on the other picture, you can see Boriana with her sister. This is a picture taken this summer at the end of our summer vacation. Boriana is doing quite well these days. After last year, after the adjustment to the drug and to all of these challenges that she had to go through, she's doing very fine, and actually she's able to develop herself quite well at school, have her place with her sister, and the only thing that stayed are the cataplexy symptoms, but we are working for another drug being imported in Bulgaria, just focusing on her cataplexy symptoms. So I already mentioned that staying proactive and very positive and never giving up and never, stopping to look for answers was something that was keeping my husband and me quite well under the circumstances, because both of us, we were absolutely determined to find the best possible way to help our daughter. So last year on the 22nd of September, which is the World Narcolepsy Day, I decided to write our story and share it via Facebook. And you can see that it got almost 300 shares afterwards. We received this huge response from people that we never knew. Actually, we received a huge response from Bulgarian media. They decided to interview us and to reshare our story and to make narcolepsy better known in Bulgaria. And afterwards, several people contacted us with stories of their narcolepsy cases, and also several people who were hesitant of whether their children were with narcolepsy and what was going on with them. And if you remember at the beginning of our story, this super famous professor in the state clinic, the most famous clinic, she has given the same people a wrong diagnosis. So we decided to further develop our work as a responsibility towards society and responsibility towards people who are in the unknown, and make it more visible as a state of living with narcolepsy, and establish the Bulgarian Association of Narcolepsy Patients. It was not easy, I have to admit it, because as I said, it's been mostly a work in my nighttime hours and weekend hours, and stealing some free time from different parts of the week. But at the end, I'm very proud of what we achieved. And in March, on the 22nd of March, we launched the website and the brochures telling more about narcolepsy in Bulgarian. So this was a huge step ahead for us, because from our personal story, we managed to elevate it to a more, national network of support. And we hope that with it, we will be able to help more people reach a treatment like in a more fast way. Why this is important? Because our case is, I think it's unique that Boriana experienced all the symptoms in just 2 months, 2 months and a half. But usually what we learned from our experience is that it may take between 8 to 15 years between symptom onset and diagnosis, which is a very long period of time. And usually people are believed to be treated with other illnesses like epilepsy, as I mentioned, because neurologists were looking for epilepsy in Buriana as well. Schizophrenia or some other types of neurology illnesses. Over 50% of people with narcolepsy are currently undiagnosed or misdiagnosed. And if we look at the statistics, that probably around 3,500 people in Bulgaria are suffering from narcolepsy. Up to the moment, we have been in contact with about 30 people who have shared their stories. Either they have been diagnosed during this period of time, or their children. So you can imagine the percentage of people that are ahead of us to reach out and to help them. So raising awareness is one very strong motive for us to continue our work. And World Narcolepsy Day was the moment that we shared our story a year ago. So it was a very important moment in our lives. You can see Buriana, me, and Sevda, the sister, last year with the sign. Actually, Buriana was not eager to do it at all, and I had to beg her to do it. But I'm happy that we have this memory, because it's a very important moment in our lives. This is when we decided to say to our small community that she's suffering from narcolepsy, and we have to do something more about it. So we were very fortunate up to this moment, as I mentioned before, fortunate in our path that we have received so much support and so much goodwill from people around us. And also I'm very grateful that this year I was part of the Rising Voices of Narcolepsy program. So this was a very nurturing process for me, and I learned a lot of I learned a lot of ways, to share the stories, but also a very important part of it was that I got in a network of other people sharing their stories. And it's also very important to hear them, because narcolepsy is very different with each person. It's not the same. It's not that when you break your arm, it's always the same treatment, and it's something very specific and very personal. And we will continue our work, and I will continue to rely on your support and your resources, which are great. And yeah, I hope to keep in touch and to be able to answer any of your questions if you have such. And thank you for having me today.
Yay, great job. Thank you so much for sharing today. This has been so moving and so special to hear your story. If you want to go ahead and unshare your slide, then we can see you and so we have people tuned in from around the world, from Ireland to Bulgaria to New Zealand, so and all over the US. So yeah, it's just people are really enjoying and love your story and thanking you for sharing. Also loving the brochures that you guys made. Those are so cool.
Yeah.
And of course, your beautiful website. So yeah, folks, send over any questions you have in the Facebook chat. I'll start with a few of my questions. You talked about getting medications in Bulgaria. That's like such an important thing for, it's such a different process than here in the US. And so from the other people that you've spoken to, I think you said about 30 other families. Are they running into some of those same challenges, or do you feel like there's, safety in numbers now that, to be able to overcome some of those challenges that you had to kind of be the first one, or how's that going?
Definitely, they're running into the same challenges, especially for the families with kids who have not been diagnosed previously. So we are very proud that currently there are 2 more kids diagnosed with narcolepsy. One of the kids is with type 1 and the other one is with type 2. And their progression so far is very positive. And unfortunately, we were approached by people who are above 18 years of age, and we couldn't help them with the whole bureaucratic process because it's very specific. This type of drug that we import, not we, but the state imports for the kids, it has a special way of being accepted by the Ministry of Health and then approved by the National Drugs Association, and then it has to be imported by a state hospital. And in our case, we have the super important support by a state children's hospital, which has embraced our case and helped so far to other kids in our path to, treating narcolepsy and having the right medication for these patients. But in our story, we have in our 2.5 year story, we have met with other patients with narcolepsy who have been treating themselves only with just scheduled naps and a special diet, or not with medications. And this is another of our challenges, helping these patients have the right medication in Bulgaria as well, but we don't know how yet.
Oh, so much to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we have Greta here saying how she's so grateful to you, thanks to you, that her daughter received a diagnosis and medication. So
we know each other.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Taylor here in California, she had a question. Have your daughter's teachers and classmates been supportive?
Okay, so this is another of our challenges because Boriana usually falls asleep in class. This is something that she cannot control, even though she's on the right medication, but it will continue. She cannot control it, even though she has the scheduled naps. So this year, for the first time, we are making more serious steps towards changing the system at her school. This is not a private school, a state school in Bulgaria, in Sofia. So hopefully more teachers will be involved with her situation and will help her with her studies. And yeah, this involves another bureaucratic measure, let me put it like this, but there is another bureaucratic step that we have to undertake, but we are on the right way and we have the support of the school so far. And from the beginning, we have informed her schoolmates of her condition. And I think that they have been quite understanding and helpful, but sometimes children are kind of, very impulsive in their reactions, and they say that she bothers them when she wakes up after a short nap and asks for what has been going on around the class while she was sleeping, while she was asleep. So I think it's important that the school as an institution undertakes something more serious in order to support her in this situation. But we are doing something this year, and I hope that it will lead to a successful end.
If I remember correctly, did you use the toolkit that we had created? Was that helpful?
Yes, it was helpful. Actually, we translated it and we gave it, but it was this summer that we did. And we gave it to our like the teacher who is responsible for this whole process of documentation.
I just wanted to
And
mention that.
yeah, she responded quite positively. So thank you for this as well.
Yeah. Well, Taylor, who asked that question, is our toolkit. She helps us create the toolkits. So I think it's really wonderful to hear, when your work
Thank you,
ends up
Taylor, for
helping
these
people around the world. So Taylor, that's your impact too.
Yes.
So let's see. I was going to ask how you found Rising Voices in Project Sleep to start.
When we were Googling at the beginning, you remember that I told you that we were Googling a lot about the symptoms and what we were supposed to do. So this is how I don't know how, but we reached your webpage, and I was just actually looking at the stories and going through some of the stories. But at the beginning, it was very chaotic because I didn't know what to look for exactly. I just was, gathering information. But afterwards, your story sharing proved to be very helpful to me. The thing is that I couldn't find a story similar to ours with a parent doing something for their child. And most of them were people who have, outgrown somehow these challenges of being diagnosed as a child with narcolepsy. And I find it very valuable up to now, to refer to them, because I would not stop repeating that each case of narcolepsy is very different from another. And so far with Buriana, we have been very lucky to have, to receive treatment quite quickly. And she had some months of adjustment, but this year it looks much brighter than the previous one. And I'm sure that with each year she will feel better.
Yeah, well, it's so amazing to have you be part of the program. And we had established it to first just to have people with narcolepsy themselves share, but we wanted to expand to have, other people sharing. So you're our star, like person and advocate to work with us, and Lauren especially. Huge shout out to Lauren, who helped,
Yes.
coordinates the program so amazingly. To see what it would be like to have a parent share their story through this program. So we're really, really grateful for you for being willing to do that. And it is such an important perspective to share. And I guess I was getting really teared up when you talked about being in Bologna and trying the treatment for the first time, and how you could hear her speak differently. And it's just amazing to hear. And then to think that like last year was on World Narcolepsy Day was the first time of like publicly sharing, and look how much, you've done in a year. It's unbelievable. And I realized that today actually is 15 years exactly since I was diagnosed with narcolepsy,
Wow.
today. So unbelievable to think, even in my own journey, of all that's happened in 15 years. Like, it's hard to believe. So I just know that so much more is going to be, like, your advocacy is already impacting so many people. And I just know it will just continue to grow and grow. Let's
Thank you,
see.
Julie, for all you have done. Actually, this is so one person's story can, change so many other people's stories
Oh,
along the way.
yeah, it's amazing. I just feel
Yeah,
lucky,
it is. It is.
And then I guess the other question I had was about some of the efforts to raise awareness and raise funds. So there was a recent event that featured your nonprofit organization.
Yes, it was kind of a surprise, and it was quite amazing that we were recognized as a foundation to be featured in one of the recently established in Sofia rock concerts for Bulgarian bands. Yeah, in Sofia, it was an amazing event, and I'm really proud that we were featured along other two foundations, which are very well developed. One is the Bulgarian Helsinki Committee, and the other one is For Paws, which is a nonprofit for animals in Bulgaria, and us, the Bulgarian Association of Narcolepsy Patients. So yeah, I think that we are gaining an important recognition, which is good, because I believe that there are many more people out there in Bulgaria suffering from narcolepsy and not knowing what is going on with them or with their loved ones. So it's very important to tell our stories and yeah, to share them, no matter the audience, even though the rock concert was a great audience to speak about narcolepsy, also like a lot of understanding and a lot of support.
That is so cool. Were you able to attend the concert then?
Yes. Actually, we were there.
Oh my gosh, that's got to be so neat to see that
Yeah.
recognition. It's so important. Means
Yes,
so
it
much.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
Um,
and actually, because you mentioned our brochure and the website,
yeah.
both the website and the brochure are the work of love of people that have decided to support us. And I would just like to thank them once again. One is Gergana Stankova. She's a graphic designer who lives in UK, and she has been working on the website through all these months from last year. Even today, she was working on the website, and I would like to extend my huge thanks. Also, 4 Plus is a graphic design studio, motion graphic design studio based in Sofia, but they work worldwide. They are the authors of the brochure, which is super neat, and we're using it until today. And whenever we get the chance, we spread it. Actually, we work with an organization in Bulgaria called Super Doc. It's reservations for doctors. And we decided to spread the brochure for GPs, because they're the first meeting point for patients of narcolepsy, and it's very important to work with doctors. So yeah, I would like to thank all of the people who have been involved in these materials.
That's really cool about reaching through a website for the general practitioners.
Yes.
It's a great idea.
It's not exactly through the website, but through their representatives around the country, because they go and recruit GPs to to have their practice listed on the website. So when they go and visit them, they give our brochure and tell about narcolepsy. So yeah, it's a very big success for us that they agreed to support us in such a way.
That is amazing. We got to do
Yeah.
that here. Got to figure that one out.
Yes, because when you go to your GP and you say, I have these and these symptoms, and they don't know what to do, they have never heard of narcolepsy, but at least we're trying, to teach them something, or to give them a stepping stone of information.
Mm-hmm. So important. That will change people's lives without a doubt. Well, I don't think we have any other questions on the chat. Just lots of comments of gratitude for you for sharing your story. So, yeah, thank you so much for all that you're doing and for being part of this program and this day. It's so, so special to celebrate with you around the world.
Thank you. And thank you for having us as a sponsoring association for World Narcolepsy Day. It's
Of course. Yeah, it's so cool to see the organizations are so important, and this day was established by the groups. And so when we see new ones, we want to get everyone involved and just make sure we can all do what we can with limited energy. And like you said, narcolepsy is already, a demanding new job that
yes, it is.
take on. And advocating for a community in general is almost a whole other job. So
yes.
a lot, but thank you again. And thank you for everyone for tuning in today. We're just so excited to see more of your photos and your photo booth videos and, everything all on social media from around the world. I think today there is a coffee meetup. Maybe it's in somewhere in Europe. I think maybe the Netherlands, there's some sort of a coffee meetup happening. I know there's a tennis tournament that's going to be in Rome next weekend, and just lots of different events and things happening. So
Wow.
we're just really excited.
Great.
All right. Well, have a good rest of your evening.
Thank
And
you, Julie.
send lots of love to your whole family for
Lots
us.
of love on our part as well.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
everybody. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.